Good evening. I stand here before you today and I look out at the front row here and I can't help but acknowledge that some of the women who helped me navigate my own journey back in 2003 are here still with us today as faculty and staff members. And it is a little surreal knowing that senior leadership of the institution I graduated from so long ago is still here making a difference on young people's lives. Thank you all for what you do. Believe it or not, I actually struggle to talk about myself and my experience on this journey. I'm incredibly comfortable talking in front of a crowd. That's not the issue. It's just easier for me to stand up here and tell you how the queer homeownership rate in America is 45% versus the national average of 74%, or how in 31 states today, LGBTQ folks aren't entitled to civil rights protections. In fact, I've actually never told my own story. So, what I'm going to attempt to do over the next 10 minutes is open up a little, and hopefully, that'll leave you with something you can take with you as you continue on your journey. My name is Ryan Weyandt, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm an oldest brother to a set of twins, and the firstborn to two incredible parents who are still together today. My best friend and husband is here with me today, Michael, and in so many ways, he has given me the strength I've needed most over the last several years to be here today. I grew up in a small town just south of here, Farmington, Minnesota. I graduated from high school in 2003, and I'm confident I knew everything. Today, I serve as the founder and CEO of the LGBTQ plus Real Estate Alliance, which is an international nonprofit working to increase the home ownership rate within the queer community, to create generational wealth, for our families, and to fight discrimination in all things housing. But believe me, that's not how I started. Let's rewind a little. I played 3 sports, ran my high school newspaper, acted in musicals and plays, sang in 2 choirs, was part of homecoming and prom royalty, served as student athletic director, and was part of student government. I know that may be hard to believe, but I did it all. I had an on-again, off-again relationship with a girl for about 4 years. My parents were proud of me. My friends loved me. Adults enjoyed me. And in general, my small town, mildly affluent, successful life was perfect in just about every way. The only problem was, it wasn't my life. It was a script. I wasn't living my life. I was acting out someone else's life. St. Thomas was my backup school. There was just about no way that I was going to stay in Minnesota after high school. Leaving Minnesota meant that I would be able to start fresh and start living authentically, and I had to get out. And I knew how I was going to. I was accepted to 2 different schools in California, in D.C., and 1 in Texas. But life rarely takes into account the plans that you make and insists that you do things on its own timeline instead. So when my grandmother got sick, I made the decision to stay in Minnesota and help the family for a year and then transfer out to Orange County, hopefully to thrive. I look back and laugh a little every time someone asks me if I was born and raised in Minnesota. I pause normally and say, absolutely, and I've been going to relocate to California since 2003. My freshman year at UST was intense, for lack of better wording. Growing up Catholic, being raised in a home with German, Irish, old school Catholic parents, and being part of a family with literally 80 first cousins scattered around the Twin Cities, meant that someone was always watching, always knew you, or always knew your parents. This was the first time in my life I was in a place that was geographically close to home, but completely roped off and isolated from the rest of my life. It was an opportunity to start over, but needed to be done with a degree of caution since I was still in the heart of St. Paul, after all. About a month into freshman year, I met a guy, a class above me, ironically in my intro to theology class. He just transferred in from Boston and was basically starting over as well. We ended up hanging out and started studying together, and over the course of a few weeks figured out that we were both into each other a bit more than study buddies or friends traditionally were. The problem was that neither of us was out. So lies were told and walls were built, and a relationship was quickly formed based on deception. Not to each other, of course, but to everyone else around us. We shared a pool of mutual friends, and none of them knew what was going on for the first few months. We were honestly inseparable, and we stayed that way for most of my freshman year, until one night at a party, I finally met the girl who was pretending to be his girlfriend as a cover. She was wonderful in almost every way. We got along so well. The problem was, it was obvious that she was in love with him too. And these lies we told eventually caught up with us, and people got hurt. The truth came out by force, and friendships were lost. Josh went home to Boston that summer, and I went back to Farmington. But nothing would ever be the same. We stayed on and off until he eventually graduated and moved back east. It wasn't easy, but it was good for both of us in hindsight, and I know that now. It was one of the most emotionally challenging times of my life. It was hard. And it was hard to create lies to protect an identity that I wasn't willing to accept and welcome into my own life. It was hard to lose friends because of fear and self-preservation. It was hard to tackle my own homophobia, which had been ingrained in my identity and who I was up until that point in my life. It was a turbulent year, and frankly, sophomore year was no cakewalk either. Many of the people, as I said earlier, still serving in campus and res life, were there in 2004 and 2005 and played a vital role in allowing me the space, freedom, and support to figure out who I was, what I wanted to do with that knowledge after I knew, and how I was going to get there. As I said, many of the staff here today played a vital role in shaping the person who stands before you now, and I'm eternally grateful to them. Josh and I talked regularly over the last 15 years, and we had both married and found true freedom and love and figured out how to own our identities genuinely. A week after I was presented with this opportunity to speak to you today, I was out in Washington, D.C. taking meetings on the Hill about a piece of legislation our organization is working with HRC and the National Association of Realtors to lobby for. I was meeting with a congresswoman who is a friend, and I received 3 calls from folks I hadn't spoken to in a very, very long time, all within 15 minutes of each other. I excused myself and stepped into the hall to return one of the calls to see what was going on. Ryan, I didn't want to leave this on your voicemail. Are you in a place to talk? I didn't know what was coming next, but I knew it was probably going to disrupt the rest of my day. Yeah, Danny, go ahead. What's up? Josh passed away last night. His husband was with him. They didn't make it to the hospital in time. It looks like an aneurysm. I didn't exactly recall what I said or how the conversation went after that, but I finished that meeting with the congresswoman and thanked her and ended up canceling the rest of my afternoon. I remember I went to the Lincoln Memorial and sat on the steps for about 2 hours and thought about life. You see, Josh had just celebrated his 40th birthday 9 days before I got that call, and I had forgotten to call or text him. So why am I telling you this? This isn't the usual rally cry given at commencements. That's true. I'm sharing this with you because Josh allowed me to love myself. He was the first person in my life who knew what my experience was like and didn't care. He encouraged me to accept myself even if I wouldn't allow others to do it yet. He pushed me to find comfort in my own skin. He challenged me to overcome the shame and embarrassment I used to feel just from waking up in my own skin. Josh made me see that happiness was possible in a world where I could be myself. My hope for each and every one of you here today is that if you haven't already, you're enabled to find peace and confidence that accompanies self-acceptance, regardless of how complex your identities are. I don't have regrets, I don't believe in them, and I can't change what has passed, but I haven't stopped thinking about that and how it related to this opportunity to be here tonight with all of you and share my story at the place that it all started. One of the touch points I was asked to speak on today was how my UST experience and my own intersections in my identity shaped who I am today. I stand here now with full confidence that my UST experience and my own intersectionality as a gay Catholic traditionally conservative, white, affluent male from the suburbs made me who I am today. And understanding and learning what that meant has enabled me to be the advocate that I strive to be today. All of those identities you see enabled me to examine and define what I truly believe and who I really am. I am fundamentally different than I was back then. And I know that I don't know everything. I also know that every day is an opportunity to grow and learn. I've been able to grapple with my own identity and make peace with the fact that others don't always see the pieces that make up this puzzle, but it still fits together in a way that I don't feel like I need to rationalize anymore. UST and Josh and mentors and friends, learning life lessons and finding my own convictions, all of these things have directly made me who I am today. My hope for all of you is that you are able to reflect on your time here and feel the same. And if not today, then perhaps in a few years. I spent the first half of my life walking with my eyes open and constantly running into barriers, wondering why. After I figured out that I had been walking in the dark all this time, I was able to turn the lights on, and that path became much easier to follow. And so, since finding myself so long ago here at St. Thomas, I have walked through life knowing I was being true to myself. It hasn't been easy. It's still not easy. But you know the phrase that you always hear in a movie when someone says something in a serious situation that offers a little bit of levity and the other character says, well, whatever it takes to sleep at night. Well, friends, that was my whatever it takes, being true to myself. I sleep at night like a baby in my own skin, knowing that what I represent in my waking hours is truth, self, and courage. Yeah, it's exhausting, but anything worth accomplishing is going to make you a little tired. That's why we rest. That's why we replenish. That's why we need to ensure we're constantly taking care of our whole selves so we can find the energy to do it all over again tomorrow. And every day we're blessed to wake up in this amazing world we live in. You leave these grounds in the next few days, and many of you aren't sure what to expect. You don't understand how much I appreciate that. Some of you don't know what's next. Some of you are rightfully jaded by what you've already experienced in your lives. And I'm here to tell you today that it's going to be okay. You are going to be okay. And you will never figure it all out. But the secret is no one expects you to. You leave UST as the first graduating class to be fully prepared for the world we live in today. You are the first class to be born after 9/11 to graduate from college. You are the first class to go into the workforce with 4 years of education under your belts in a post-COVID world. I know in my heart that each and every one of you sitting here today is better prepared to take on the challenges tomorrow brings and succeed because your experience in this life has prepared you better than anyone else to take it on and thrive. You take with you the memories and life lessons you've absorbed over the past 4 years. That life experience is vastly different from my own, and I'll be the first to tell you that. But I stand here so confident that you are the class who will find solutions to the very real issues impacting us today. You have the will, you have the drive, you have the tenacity and the clarity and the passion. Folks, this is your time to take over as the authors of history and start writing the future. 10 minutes goes fast. In fact, I think I'm probably closer to 15 at this point, but here we are. So today I identify as a proud, cisgender gay man who knows what he believes in and why. The path to getting there was not paved in gold, but it was paved in learning and life lessons. And through learning, I have been able to achieve and accept things I never knew were possible. My friends, leave this fortress in the middle of this city with your heads held high, with pride, and with confidence in who you are. Own your identities. Own your truth. Never apologize to the world for being who you are and knowing who that is while you're still in your 20s. Be brave. Be kind. Be proud. Be real. And above all, be yourselves. Congratulations, class of 2024. The world is yours, and it's time to take it.